There is this video on the Polish parts of YouTube. A reporter asks bypassing people about their plans for New Year's Eve. Then the last question is aimed at this poor dude that seems like he does not want to talk.
Gdzie spędzą Sylwestra w tym roku? Jak pan spędzi Sylwestra?
Będę grał w grę
A w jaką?
Tomb Raider.
And it seems like it was enough for the video to get quite viral for Polish audiences on YouTube. It became sort of a meme. So with that in mind, I decided that it would be fitting to play Shadow of the Tomb Raider close to New Year's celebration. Let me introduce you to delayed review Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This review is based on 36 hours spent in game, completing the game on one with the jungle difficulty setting, as well as getting 100% in-game collectibles. During my time with the game, I got 98 out of 99 trophies, which is 98% of achievement completion. I also own each DLC released for the game and I finished all of them. And let me just say that I completed both Tomb Raider from 2013 and Rise of the Tomb Raider. Both games are made by the Crystal Dynamics. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is their continuation, so I will use those games as a point of reference.
A famous explorer once said,
I want to start with a fast summary of my experiences with the series, so you know which parts of the previous games I consider good and which parts are not to my liking.
defined adventure.
Before 2013's Tomb Raider reboot, I always knew what this series is about, but I have never finished a single game from the franchise. That's why the first adventure of Lara Croft made by Crystal Dynamics took me by surprise. It was gritty, dark and mature. Devs were not pulling any punches. Right from the start they torment young Lara. In the opening gameplay section, she falls down and pierces her side on a loose part of reinforced wire. Later she gets continuously beaten and pretty much each death sequence is unnecessarily brutal. I saw an interview where devs claimed that they did it so the players would be scared of dying and would care more to keep Lara alive. That's a really cool approach, because it was hard to watch how much pain was inflicted to our protagonist in the first game. 2013's Tomb Raider took a really interesting spin when it comes to its story. It's an origin story for Lara, and it focuses on survival for the first parts of the story. Then she slowly fights through her weaknesses, achieves new goals, develops as a character. We cheer for this young girl that has to fight in order to survive. And then the player realizes that there is a payoff to all that suffering inflicted to Lara. At the end, she finally becomes a hardened adventurer, survival expert, a Tomb Raider. And it's not a cheap montage of scenes. The whole first game is a journey, from inexperienced girl to a future excavation expert. Gameplay was solid, the mystery surrounding the island where Lara got stranded felt compelling, and the story as well as its supernatural elements and the main antagonist were introduced extremely well.
A secret entrance. It's amazing.
Then, in 2015, the studio released Rise of the Tomb Raider, a continuation of young Lara Croft's adventures. This part was bigger in pretty much every regard. More content, while very welcomed, did not actually impress me that much. The story introduced Trinity as a main evil organization. Constantine, the prime adversary of Lara Croft in this game, was designed pretty well for his purpose, but unfortunately the plot didn't resonate with me as strongly as the first one. It was serviceable but felt like a rethread of previous story. We slowly unlock the same upgrades. In the middle of the game, player is introduced to these supernatural enemies. And they even have the same section where the army of those new foes marches in the distance while Lara tries to remain stealthy. I also didn't like the zones in Rise of the Tomb Raider. I just want to say that this is strictly personal and it's not a flaw of the game, but I felt like Siberia and its zones were kinda bland and uninteresting. A lot of snowy mountains and frozen caverns. Even the geothermal valley that was supposed to be a breath of fresh air because of it being lush and warm didn't feel that interesting. Gameplay-wise and content-wise, the game was definitely an upgrade over previous title. It also offered a plethora of additional modes to play. With all that being said, of those two games, 2013's Tomb Raider is definitely my favorite. I had high hopes for the Shadow of the Tomb Raider's narrative. I wanted it to be a meaningful conclusion to Crystal Dynamics' trilogy. This time, we meet Lara and her friend Jonah on track to find Artifact, a dagger, before Trinity does. During the introductory section of the game, we will meet our main antagonist, Dr. Dominguez, who is ahead of Trinity's High Council. From the start of this adventure, Lara is shown to be very stubborn. Even though Jonah asks her not to remove the dagger from its holding place, she takes it. By doing that, she sets in motion a series of cataclysmic events. From this point onward, an overarching narrative focuses on a race to acquire the other artifact needed to stop the cataclysms. Lara and Trinity's forces, led by Dominguez, will clash in their tries to find a silver box. Of course, it turns out that Trinity's leader wants the box and dagger not only to stop Cataclysm, but also to remake the world as he wants.
Last chance to surrender!
And this is the right time to talk about the game antagonist. It won't be much of a spoiler to say that while searching for the box in Peru, Lara discovers a hidden city called Paititi. Her adversary, known to her as Dominguez, was actually born in Paititi and later got recruited by Trinity, where he rose to power. His original name is Amaru. Learning about his past helps player to understand his point of view. I think that as a character, Amaru is really well written. There's this great scene where he argues with Queen Unuratu. You see, Amaru cares deeply about Paititi, in his own way. He wants to remake the world without pain and suffering, a noble cause. There is a drawback though. A remade humanity would be controlled by Trinity. So, they are pretty much Templars from Assassin's Creed franchise, an organization that strives for order through absolute control of the population. And also pretty much like today's governments.
That will only ensure Paititi's safety for a moment. But then, it doesn't protect us from discovery, invasion, our destiny.
Let's try to understand Amaru's point of view. He saw an outside world, and he knows that Paititi won't survive when confronted with modern technology. All their way of thinking, their culture and beliefs would be lost. By remaking the world, he wants to keep Paititi safe. I believe that this is an accurate representation of some people's sentiments. Let's be real here. There are people in the real world that when given a chance would force others to live by their given set of rules and morals. One man's liberator is another's oppressor. What I'm getting at is the fact that Amaru's motivation is believable and close to reality. He's not this cartoony villain that's evil for the sake of being evil.
Cult of Kukulkan? Or should I say Trinity?
Constantine from Rise of the Tomb Raider was focused on saving his sister. He was this kind of religious zealot, but when it comes to his cruelty, he was kinda one-dimensional. The story of Matthias in the first game was well thought out. He was a villain because he just desperately wanted to leave the island. He made a pact with Himiko, which a lot of people might have done in similar situation to regain their freedom. Circumstances can make even the greatest person cruel. And it shows that the writers did a very good job with the trilogy's villains. What about Lara Croft? In the past we have seen her grow, learn new abilities, get more experience and tougher. In Shadow of the Tomb Raider we meet Lara that's already fixated on her new goal, finding Artifact before Trinity. I like how it shows a flaw in her character that was signaled in the previous games. When Miss Croft sets a goal for herself, she focuses on it so hard that she neglects others and their opinions. In Rise of the Tomb Raider, she was fixated to prove that her father was right and that the work of his life led to something meaningful. In this installment, she wants to stop Trinity. She ignores Jonah and starts a cataclysmic flood that destroys a whole city. Even after that, she kinda doesn't care that much about people who lost their lives because of her actions and wants to chase Trinity right away. It's hard to sympathize with Lara at the start of the Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's not like she's bad or unhelpful, she just tends to overfocus on her own goals over anything else. This is an opportunity for writers to make this character grow again, and it is used correctly.
Not if he gets the box first! I have to go! I'm the only one!
You're the only one that can what? You don't know that you caused all this, Lara! Not everything is about you!
With time, Lara reflects on her deeds. She fails, feels lost, needs help, then gathers herself up and prepares for the second round. I also love how writers recognize that at this moment Lara is a killer. Throughout her adventures, she already killed countless enemies and she will kill more. There are those powerful moments during the story when Lara gets Hulk level angry and becomes a menace. It's scary, empowering, and it feels so right for the story. It's comparable to the first game when Lara acquires grenade launcher and unleashes it on her enemies. The same enemies that chased her until that moment now run away in fear and utter chaos. It was such a massive, empowering feeling. If you are looking for an interesting telling of a woman empowerment story in gaming, this or the 2013 Tomb Raider are the titles for you.
The Eye of the Serpent. That's it.
The main story is constructed in a decent manner. Unfortunately, to some extent it suffers from the same flaws as Rise of the Tomb Raider did. It uses the same tropes from the previous title, like the slow discovery of yet another army of weird fantasy-like creatures or unlocking the upgrades we've used before. At least in Shadow, we unlock everything we used in previous games much earlier. While a lot of things happening during the main storyline are believable, there are some that aren't. A weakened Lara is spared by the Jaguar in an Alien 3-like stare contest, only for the Jaguar to come back later to fight her again. I mean, this is a wild beast. Why would it not kill Lara at that moment? Another bigger plot hole presents itself when our protagonist acquires a shaman outfit. It allows her to travel to restricted parts of the city without being bothered by the guards. The question is, who would be fooled by this disguise? First of all, you can see that this is a Caucasian tiny woman. Second thing, Lara talks with a lot of people in that disguise. Even if we will pretend that she speaks their language, I think that the guards should recognize a foreign accent. Especially since by that time a lot of people already would seen Lara venturing through the city before she got the outfit. You could say that this is the gamey mechanic in order to spice things up for the gameplay purposes. Okay, I can accept that argument, but it's still done very poorly and destroyed immersion for me. Conclusion of the story and the whole second part of the game are definitely much stronger in terms of plot. The game has even segments when we play as young Lara. They are quite touching with superb music. I guess their main job is to cement connection between Lara, her past and the player.
Taunting.
One more thing I want to touch on here are the side missions. Those quests are better developed than the ones we got before. They got their own cutscenes and are bigger and longer than their equivalents from Rise of the Tomb Raider. Some of them flesh out the side characters really well, and usually they open parts of the map that would be inaccessible otherwise. The mix of everything story related made me care about this game's plot more than I cared about Rise history. But 2013's plot is still my favorite.
A few of them got separated and were left behind.
Okay, before we will get to visuals and gameplay, I want to address technical state and bugs. This is important for me because it made me think if I should recommend this game or not. So, the main problem, the whole game and every one of its aspects are inconsistent. It's true for the plot, sound, visuals and gameplay. I'll get to sound and visuals in a sec. During my playtime I only got one crash, so when it comes to stability the game is good. The problems arise with numerous glitches. Animations not working properly, visual artifacts, weird working lighting effects. Sometimes when I would swing on a line attached to a climbing axe, that axe would move to me while I was still swinging. To be honest, those are the things that I could let slide. They can wreck immersion from time to time, but they were not very prevalent throughout the game. And some visual bugs could even be problems on my end, since I could not find those lighting artifacts like mine anywhere on the internet. There was this bug during main questline. Lara is supposed to scroll stone blocks sideways to find correct symbols. You need to complete this puzzle in order for the doors to open so you can continue the story. I spent like 20 minutes trying to figure out why, even though I was using the mechanism assigned to the blocks, it was only shaking and not moving. Well, behold, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is creating its own metaverse here. This puzzle is so meta that I needed to first change my graphic setting in order for this thing to work as intended. And it wasn't straightforward. I found a couple of posts on the internet dating back to the game's release talking about this problem. It turns out it's somehow related to VSync, DirectX 12, DLSS, framerate, or even other graphic setting. Different threads talk about different ways to bypass this issue. For me, I spent between 30 minutes to 1 hour trying to make the puzzle work. I was close to giving up and trying to install the game on my other PC with 1070 Ti. I'm using 3070 Ti right now, by the way. And on my last try, it actually worked. For me, setting VSync for half the framerate worked. I have also seen a guy on YouTube using Lara's survival instincts to make it work. The blocks would move only as long as the screen would be in grey color. What's important here, this bug is present since release, and to this time it has not been fixed. That's more than 3 years. From what I noticed, it only happens to a small number of players, but it still happens. And you can even see a negative reviews on Steam of people who just gave up at this point. If you are not speedrunning the game, it will happen well after 2-hour mark, so you would not be eligible for the refund without a way to finish the game. That's a problem. Okay, so I continued my adventure with Lara, and as I said, the second part of the game interested me much more than the beginning. So even though there were some glitches and bugs, I was having fun. Then I started the Nightmare DLC, and close to the end of its tomb, a block that I had to push in order to get further bugged out. Quick scan on the internet, and yes, it's a known bug. From what I can say, it happens if you die after pushing the block for the first time. It worked fine for me the first time, then I fell into the pit and after that it stopped working. How to fix the issue? You have to replay the whole tomb. I did that and then it worked fine because I haven't died, but it still was kinda infuriating.
Why would Hunanan and Hunachevin build this place?
Let's talk about graphics now. I remember in 2018 when Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix marketed the game, they were showing all the visual improvements of the title. Well, it looks good. Definitely the best from the series. The jungles, caves, temples and underwater areas of Peru interested me more than kinda bland frozen Siberian zones. I have to commend the design of areas to include a lot of those picturesque viewpoints with beautiful lighting. The game engine is at its strongest when it plays with the light and the shadow, especially when it falls on different surfaces. But in areas where we lack light sources, we can see that the surroundings does not look as impressive as before.
I need to find a way to climb that.
And as I said before, there are a lot of those visual glitches that happen from time to time. Right now I'm wondering if it's maybe also tied to frame rate the same way as the puzzle block bug was. Animation glitches happen rarely. Character movements are done properly. Face animations of main characters and their lip syncing are done fine when they don't break. Lip syncing broke like 4 or 5 times for me. I noticed that especially for Jonah, lip syncing breaks the most. Animations of secondary characters are definitely less polished and very conservative, especially face animations. You can also see that their lip syncing was made by a program and not by a human hand.
And thank you again for finding Isabella. I don't know what I would have done if...
Since we talk about characters, let's talk about voice acting. Main characters' voice actors did an outstanding job. I especially like Jonah. His voice actor was able to deliver a lot of emotions through his work. Of course, when it stays in sync. Lara, Unuratu, Amaru are also very well done. Voices of side characters can differ in quality. There are especially two actors that are overused for a lot of NPCs. One for male and one for female voice lines. You can even hear that they try to change their voices, but you can recognize it's still the same person. And there is this one NPC that's supposed to be a playful, nice guy that laughs in between sentences, but this laugh feels so fake. It was not good.
Porvenir happened.
Sounds in the game are on an industry standard level for an AAA title, as long as they work properly. Well, look here, this river seems to be quite wild. I guess you should hear the waves splashing or something of this kind, yet there is nothing. This kind of bug happens from time to time when some of the surrounding sounds does not work or they prevail even when you leave the source of it far behind. Music in the whole trilogy could be described as not invasive and sudden. For me, it's not memorable at all. The ambient music and the pieces that accompany combat sequences are fine, but they lack something that would set them apart from other similar work. The main theme is the one that I guess I will remember for some time. The best track for me, personally, is the music that plays in Laura's childhood memories. That one is actually really good.
At work.
If you want to sum up gameplay in one word, I would say that it's a refinement of everything we got before. Shadow of the Tomb Raider does not offer any new outstanding feature that would revolutionize the series. When we will decide to start our adventure, the game will offer an interesting difficulty menu. Here you can pretty much craft your own difficulty. If you want hard combat but easy puzzles and exploration, you can go for it. Each difficulty option is explained really well, and I think that it's a great system. There's also the hardest setting that cranks up everything to maximum value and makes you respawn at the nearest camp when you die. Dark Souls vibes, eh? Unfortunately, the game was not designed with this feature in mind. I already had bad experiences with it in previous title. On paper, it seems really interesting. Player would be careful to not die and not lose their progress. It should make for more thrilling experience. And it does for the first time you are somewhere. But when you die, you are back to previous bonfire, you lose your progress, upgrades and everything you acquired in the meantime. All the cinematics are gonna play again. You can of course skip them. Let's say you get to a really hard section, or something in the game bugged out a couple of times and you have to redo a longer part of the game, gathering again all of the collectibles, ammo and resources. It quickly becomes a chore. That's why I resigned from playing at this difficulty, but I think it's an interesting choice for hard mode maniacs, especially the ones that already completed the game and want to replay it. Another problem with the design of the game and difficulty options shows up in exploration. And I'm going to use this point as a segue to movement and exploration. You see, the rebooted Tomb Raider games did a really good job in making sure that the player knows where to go and which ledges can be climbed. The game silently navigates the players through its platforming sections thanks to camera placement and this white chalk or white paint on places that can be climbed. This way you know which rocks are purely decorative and which ones are prepared for gameplay purposes. The same goes for this rugged texture on walls and mountains, which means that they are designed for climbing axe usage. Now what happens when you take away that white paint? In most parts, it's still easy to recognize which parts of the game's world are designed for Lara to traverse through. But sometimes it's confusing to decide if a rock formation is there purely for decoration and our protagonist won't grab it, or is it there so we can climb somewhere off of it. It might be extra problematic on some timed events. Movement in Shadow of the Tomb Raider is mostly fluid. We unlock most of the upgrades from previous games quite fast. The ability to shoot a rope arrow is given from the start. We also are able to use our climbing axe, attach rope to it and then swing on the rope to some distant ledges. It can bug visually, but it works nice. Other options are the same as before. double jump on some higher walls, swinging on tree branches. You can also rope swing on more distant branches. Some of the upgrades can be acquired only through trade with NPCs, so be sure to check their stock. Platforming sections were always the highlight of the new Tomb Raiders, at least in my opinion. They keep on making them feel fresh. I noticed one problem with movement outside of occasional glitches. I feel like Lara's jumping feels more stiff and on rails. It's especially noticeable on some of the perpendicular ledges. Her jumping just looks weird and kinda fake there. I do not remember similar things happening in previous titles. Survival Instincts are Crystal Dynamics' version of a popular nowadays highlight mode. Arkham series detective mode or Witcher senses, things like that. It's used to show you hidden objects or anything you can interact with. It can also show you the way. It's an okay feature. The only interesting spin here is on higher exploration difficulties, where it stops showing you anything special and you have to gradually unlock its features through skills. I actually like it more this way.
I bet this water is drinkable.
On her journey, Miss Croft will not only pillage old tombs and crypts, she will also find a ton, and I mean a ton, of collectibles. 2013's Tomb Raider struck a great balance between platforming, fighting, and an amount of collectibles. I have read every journal that I found there and listened to every voice line recorded. Rise of the Tomb Raider was overflowing with those collectibles, so I quickly lost my interest in listening to a story of every cup, letter, or trinket I had found. The same is true for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. There is just too many collectibles in here. It actually makes for a harder video editing because in some locations each couple of steps I have found a relic, a note, or some other thing. I like that there is an educational value in some of those things, but it's excessive. This point brings me to pacing. Shadow of the Tomb Raider has the smallest amount of combat sections out of any other title from the rebooted series. You spend a lot of time meandering around forests, caves and cities, talking to NPCs. Yes, I feel like there is definitely more push towards interactions with other characters. There's also a lot of platforming, climbing and diving, plus as I said before, the collectible hunt never ends. Oh, and I noticed that we will spend much more time underwater in this game. It might be boring to people that are more action focused. It was not a problem for me, although even when I played, I noticed how scarce the combat sections are. Combat by itself is the same old thing we got in previous releases. Lara uses 4 types of weapons: bow, pistol, rifle and shotgun. She can upgrade her tools and also craft some special ammunitions like igniting arrows or later arrows that force enemies to attack their own allies. On harder difficulties there is definitely a push towards more stealthy gameplay, hiding in bushes or behind walls and silently eliminating enemies. The game also introduces new ways to stay hidden. Lara can smear herself in mud and then stay close to muddy walls so the enemies won't notice her right away. Then she can swiftly get rid of them. There's also a way to shoot an enemy with a rope arrow and hang them from a tree branch. In the same fashion as it was done in Rise of the Tomb Raider, Lara can switch between different types of bows, pistols or other weapons with different stats. Player can choose to upgrade the ones that they like the most. Gearing up and upgrading is done at the campsites. There are also parts of upper and lower body upgrades that Lara can wear. Usually, we will first unlock a pattern for the given part of the outfit, and then we need to gather crafting materials and create the cape, boots, vest or whatever we unlocked. When used, those outfit parts give up bonuses to Lara. It can be less damage received from bullets or melee attacks, more herbs gathered, more ammunition made, etc. There are also full outfits that can give some benefits of their own. For example, that shaman outfit I told you before that lets you get into restricted areas in Paititi. There are also some real cool skins from the previous games and even some classic skins. There's a raid skin from Rise of the Tomb Raider DLC, the Commando skin, an outfit worn by Lara in her 2013's adventure, and some more spicy content. Angel of Darkness skin. And if you thought that you have seen beauty, nah! Just look at this beauty in all her pointy triangular grace.
Yeah, boy.
On the more serious note, it's a nice touch. Skill tree in the game is pretty basic. 3 different branches focusing on diverse aspects of Lara's prowess: combat, exploration, crafting. The skill nodes can add some new ways for you to interact with the enemies, get more crafting materials, unlock new level of weapon upgrades, or unlock a new herb to consume. There is this addition of consuming plants to get short boons. There is a healing plant, a plant that makes you tougher, the surroundings highlight herb, and a precision bullet time herb. Cool addition, yet nothing groundbreaking. Shadow of the Tomb Raider offers less additional modes to play in comparison to Rise. The only side content outside of main playthrough would be score attack and time attack challenges in the tombs we have already unlocked. Score attack's goal is to finish the level while acquiring the highest score and combo multiplier, while time attack is just a race to finish the tomb in the shortest amount of time. The last gameplay feature I want to discuss are of course tombs and crypts, a staple for the franchise. Crypts are the smaller gauntlets, while tombs are a little bit bigger and more complex. Tombs also award players with a new skill. I always liked how the rebooted series approached tombs. They aren't overly drawn out, but they require a player to perform some platforming sections and complete a set of puzzles. What's cool is the fact that each tomb is different from each other and offers new challenges. Designers did an excellent job here. Now, in the same vein as camera and white paint helps Lara with platforming, there is a help offered by the game with puzzles. Lara usually narrates what she thinks she should do and gives players hints. If you are an old-style player like me, you will appreciate the harder puzzle difficulty setting, which takes away hints, so you have to figure out everything totally on your own. To be honest, the challenges are not that hard. They usually combine puzzles with platforming and jumping. Sometimes they might require fast reactions and speeding through some gauntlets. DLCs by themselves are mediocre. As a package, they are a welcomed addition. Aside from skin packs, there are content packs offering a new weapon or weapon skin, a new costume, usually a recolor, and a new skill. You can unlock all of that by completing a side mission during the playthrough. That side quest will require to also complete a brand new tomb. The tombs, while quite short, are really interesting. Some of the DLC gauntlets offer a cooperative play for you and a friend to take part in the challenge. I would advise against buying each DLC on its own. The quality of the content is good, but the quantity is very poor. 1 hour is more than enough to finish it. Better purchase Definitive Edition that contains everything that was released for this game.
Realized. The bridge might have fallen due to an earthquake.
This is a part where I will look over some of the most recent Steam reviews. As always, I do not consider my opinion as superior. I'm doing it to confront my views with other people's reviews. Currently, the game sits at a score of 85% positive reviews out of more than 44,000 submitted opinions. By the first look at the reviews, I can say with confidence that people really liked this game. The points that repeat the most often are great graphics, face animations, a rewarding experience for the fans of the rebooted series, as well as fans of Tomb Raider overall. It turns out that there is a sizable amount of people who liked the game but recognize its shortcomings. The plot got some flack, some users felt like it was rushed. And well, yeah, I can somewhat agree. The last sequence tries to quickly tie in all the threads and deal with the Trinity, and it actually feels rushed. There are reviewers that had problems with lip sync and other bugs I had mentioned. There are also people that recognize that game lacks in action departments and that there is close to no innovation here. I also formed an objective for myself to see if there are reviews of people that did not complete the game because of the block puzzle bug. Unfortunately, there are. Okay, achievement section. Shadow of the Tomb Raider offered 99 trophies to acquire. The only one I haven't got is the one awarded for completing the game on the hardest difficulty. I already told you about my experience with this mode. As you can already tell, there are difficulty-related achievements. The difficulty that matters for the requirements is the overall game difficulty you will get based on your settings. Then there are about 15 trophies that are related to progression through main storyline. Some side missions also give you an achievement as a reward. There is of course an award for 100% completion for gathering all collectibles. If you are going for it, then on your way you will get trophies for uncovering 3 crypts, completing challenge tombs, and everything that's related to collectibles and side activities. In theory, if you are particularly meticulous on your search, you should acquire all maps that will highlight the positions of every item on your in-game map. But if you miss some, I guess internet comes to the rescue. DLC collectibles do not count for the main game completion rating. Some of the achievements are tied to unlocking a certain skill on the skill tree. For example, there is an award for collecting 20 bugs/critters, which can be obtained only after unlocking Owl's Meat. There is also a trophy for fully unlocking a branch of skills. The green category was the easiest for me. In general, if you miss an achievement, then after main story you can still try to collect it. There is one category of trophies that might be missable though. Those are the enemy and killing related achievements. I will show you them on screen. You see, the combat sections are quite scarce and that after completing them, the enemies will not respawn. If you finish a game without getting all of those challenges, then I guess you have to start a new game plus or a new playthrough to get them. There is also another way. Close to the end of the game, do not overwrite one of your saves before combat section, so later you can reload it all the time and slowly grind your achievements. I don't recommend it though, because the game has a weirdly inconsistent pattern of counting the progression for the combat achievements. If you want to go for 100% completion or to get close to it, you will need to own and play through all the Tomb DLCs. Each one of them works the same way achievement-wise. One awarded for the first completion of the tomb, one awarded for completing a DLC related quest, one awarded for equipping the DLC outfit, weapon and skill, and then there are 2 awards for getting at least bronze medal for score attack and time attack challenges in a given tomb. The way I did it was to do the quest, which required me to complete the tomb, then equipping the outfit and weapon, and then when I freshly remembered what I should do in a tomb, go for score and time attack modes. The requirements for the bronze medal are not tough to meet. For time attack you just need to be fast enough. For the score attack just remember to stack as much of the blue and green thingies as you can. If you are close to losing your stack, shoot a red lantern. You might need a couple of tries, but the most important thing is to get at least one quite long combo and it should be enough to get you to bronze. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a decent game by the AAA industry standards. It is also awfully inconsistent. We are being served a great visuals and picturesque vistas only to later find some zones in the game that look subpar. The same goes for audio. Surrounding noises glitch from time to time, yet by themselves, when they work properly, they are fine. Some voice actors really pour their hearts into their respective characters, but there are a couple of side characters with a noticeably lower quality of voice acting. The story is serviceable. I like how Crystal Dynamics tried to show our antagonist's point of view and how he argued his rights. The narrative arc finally completes Lara's journey and leaves us with a character that grew considerably from the first game. Keep in mind that it's still a refresh of some narrative points from previous games and some story choices are questionable. DLCs for the game offer a small chunks of gameplay. Their quality is fine, but quantity of content per DLC is lacking. Buying them as part of Definitive Edition is the only right choice. And now we come to my biggest dilemma in Shadow of the Tomb Raider: the bugs and technical issues. Unfortunately, I have got a visual bug that would not let me finish the game if I haven't tried to change graphic settings multiple times. There are small glitches happening quite often, and I had to replay one DLC because it bugged out in a way I couldn't finish it. If you are a person like me, someone that has a lot of time and genuinely plays a lot of games, I would say it's not a bad title, give it a shot. The same goes for people invested in Lara's story. You know, people who want to see the ending of this trilogy. Keep in mind though that you might be among less fortunate people that will have to deal with a visual bug in order to progress through the game. Treat this review as a mixed one. While I still perceive Shadow of the Tomb Raider as a decent game, I cannot ignore its flaws. A major question to ask here is, would I recommend this title? Unfortunately I can't. Even though it does a lot of things right, the game never exceeds at anything. If there would be even a single person that would buy the game after my recommendation and later had problems with a 3-year-old bug that prevents them from completing the main story, I would consider it as a failure of mine. That's why I decided not to recommend this game. Hey, I want to thank you all for watching this video. If you liked it, press the thumbs up, subscribe and maybe leave a comment. If you didn't like it, then press thumbs down and definitely leave a comment. I'm curious of your opinion. My question to you after this video is obvious. Would you still recommend a decent or even a good game despite it having a potential game-breaking bug? So that's all from me. Bye.